Why do some people consistently rise above the crowd, achieving in a single year what others can't manage in a decade? The difference isn't always talent, resources, or luck. In fact, you've probably seen people with less talent, fewer resources, and more challenges still manage to outpace those who seem to have every advantage. How do they do it? More often than not, it comes down to a single, deliberate, repeatable habit, one that compounds over time and quietly separates the extraordinary from the average. In this audiobook, The Daily Habit That Puts You Ahead of Everyone, we're going to uncover the secret behind this deceptively simple practice, explore the psychology and science that make it so powerful, and most importantly, give you a step-by-step path to make it part of your life. Starting today. Part 1. The Power of One Consistent Action. When people think about success, they usually imagine the final scene, the big stage, the trophy in hand, the company making millions, the best-selling book on the shelves. But what they don't see is the years of invisible work that came before. They don't see the early mornings when nobody else was awake. They don't see the days when motivation was gone, but the work was still done. They don't see the times it felt pointless, but the habit was kept alive anyway. The myth of the big leap. We've been sold a story: success is about making a big leap. One lucky break. One life-changing opportunity. One perfect idea that suddenly takes off. But reality tells a different story. In most cases, there's no big leap at all, just small steps, taken with relentless consistency, that eventually add up to something so big it looks like magic from the outside. Think about bamboo. For years after planting, nothing visible happens above the soil, but beneath the surface, roots are spreading, strengthening, and preparing for rapid growth. Then one day, almost overnight, the bamboo shoots up feet into the air. People think it happened instantly, but in truth it was years in the making. Success works the same way. The compound effect in real life. If you read just 10 pages of a book every day, you might not notice much after a week, but after a year, that's 13,650 pages, around 15-20 books. If you save just $10 a day, it feels small, but invest it consistently and let it compound, and 10 years later, you could have tens of thousands. If you improve a skill by just 1% each day, by the end of the year you're not 13.5% better, you're over 37 times better, because of compounding growth. It's not the size of the effort that matters, it's the fact that it's repeated every single day. Why this works better than motivation? Motivation is unreliable. It's like a friend who shows up when things are fun, then disappears the moment things get hard. Habits, on the other hand, are loyal. They show up even when you don't feel like it. Once a habit is locked in, you no longer have to negotiate with yourself each day. You simply do it because that's who you are. And here's the secret. You don't have to feel like doing it for it to work. You just have to do it. The identity shift. Every time you follow through on a habit, you're casting a vote for the type of person you believe yourself to be. Write every day, I'm a writer. Exercise every day, I'm an athlete. Study every day, I'm a lifelong learner. At first these votes feel small, but over time, they create a powerful self-image that becomes almost impossible to break. When you start to see yourself as the kind of person who follows through, your brain begins to fight for your habits instead of against them. A tale of two workers. Let me tell you about two employees, Alex and Jordan. Both start a new sales job on the same day. Alex is talented and charismatic, but works in bursts. Some weeks he's on fire, other weeks he's distracted. Jordan, on the other hand, isn't naturally gifted at sales, but he makes one sales call every single day without fail. After a month, Alex is ahead. After 3 months, they're even. After a year, Jordan has quietly surpassed Alex, not just in total sales, but in skill, confidence, and opportunities. Jordan's secret: one consistent action that multiplied over time, not raw talent. Why most people quit before it works? Here's the truth nobody likes to admit. The first few weeks of a habit can feel pointless. You're putting in the work, but nothing big is happening yet. This is the valley of disappointment, the gap between what you expect to happen and what actually happens. Most people quit here, but if you push through this valley, something magical happens. Results start to appear, and they grow faster than you expect. That's the compounding curve finally kicking in. This is when your habit turns into a kind of autopilot success machine. Even on bad days, your baseline performance is still moving you forward, because your habit does the heavy lifting. In part 2, we'll explore how to choose the right daily habit, the one that gives you the greatest return for your time and energy, so you can stack the deck in your favor and make sure every day counts towards something extraordinary. Part 2, choosing the habit that changes everything. Now that you understand the power of one consistent action, the next question becomes, which action should you choose? Because here's the truth. Not all habits are created equal. Some will give you a small return. Others will transform your life completely. The difference between them is massive. If you're going to pour your daily energy into something, you want to make sure it's the right thing. Something so valuable that over time it makes you unstoppable. The 80-20 of habits. There's a principle called the Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20 rule, which says that 80% of your results often come from just 20% of your actions. This applies perfectly to habits. 1 or 2 powerful habits can produce more results than a dozen mediocre ones. Think about it like planting seeds. You could scatter 100 weak seeds and hope something grows. Or you could plant one strong, high-quality seed in the right soil and watch it grow into a tree that feeds you for life. Keystone habits, the multipliers. Charles Duhigg, in The Power of Habit, introduced the idea of keystone habits. These are habits that don't just create one benefit, they create a ripple effect across your entire life. For example, journaling improves clarity, reduces stress, helps decision-making, and strengthens self-awareness. A keystone habit is like a lever. Push it every day, and it moves not just one area of your life, but many. How to identify your keystone habit? Ask yourself 3 questions. Which habit gives me the highest return for the smallest daily investment? Some habits require hours, others just minutes. The best ones offer huge rewards for a small, consistent effort. Which habit aligns with my long-term vision? Don't just think about what will help you now. Think about where you want to be in 5-10 years, and choose a habit that points you there. Case study, the 30-minute rule. Let me give you a real example. I once spoke to a man who went from being stuck in a dead-end job to running a successful consulting business, all because of one habit: 30 minutes of learning every day. He didn't have a degree, he didn't have special connections, but every single day, without fail, he dedicated half an hour to reading books, taking online courses, or listening to audiobooks about his field. At first, nothing happened. For months it was just quiet learning. But after a year, his skill set had grown so much that he started getting noticed. Opportunities began to find him. Within 3 years, he was earning more than he ever imagined. All because of a habit that took less time than most people spend scrolling social media. Avoiding the shiny object trap. The danger when picking a habit is distraction. You'll hear about a new productivity method, a new skill, a new challenge, and you'll want to switch. But here's the catch. Every time you restart, you reset the compounding effect. Back to zero. Imagine trying to grow 5 different plants, but moving them to new soil every week. None of them will grow. Success with habits isn't about finding something new every month. It's about sticking with one thing long enough for it to bear fruit. The 2-minute gateway. One of the easiest ways to choose and start a habit without overwhelming yourself is to make it ridiculously easy in the beginning. If you want to read daily, start with just 1 page. If you want to exercise daily, start with just 2 minutes of stretch. If you want to write daily, start with a single sentence. Why? Because the real goal at first isn't progress, it's permanence. You can always scale up later, but if you quit early, you'll never see results at all. The non-negotiable mindset. Once you've chosen your habit, you have to treat it like brushing your teeth. It's not optional. It's not something you'll try to do. It's simply part of your day, no matter what. Here's the mental trick. Instead of asking, will I do my habit today? Decide in advance that the answer is always yes. The only question is when. This shift removes the daily mental battle. It's already decided. The long game. Your daily habit might not seem like much in the beginning. You might even feel silly doing something so small every day. But remember, you're not building the habit for today's results. You're building it for the results you'll have in 1 year, 5 years, and 10 years. A single powerful habit, practiced daily, is like a snowball rolling downhill. It might start small, but over time it becomes unstoppable. Part 3. How to make your daily habit stick for life. By now, you know the power of one deliberate daily action. You've learned how to choose a keystone habit that creates ripple effects across your life. But here's the truth that very few people talk about. Most habits fail. Not because they're too hard, but because life gets in the way. It's not the first week that's the problem. It's week 6, month 3, and year 1. That's where most people slip. So in this chapter, we'll go deep into the strategies and mental shifts that make your habit unshakable, even on the days when you're tired, busy, traveling, or not in the mood. Anchor your habit to something you already do. One of the easiest ways to make a habit stick is through something called habit stacking. The idea is simple. Instead of trying to squeeze your habit into your day at a random time, attach it to something you already do without fail. For example, after brushing my teeth, I will meditate for 2 minutes. After I make my morning coffee, I will read 1 page of a book. After I finish dinner, I will write down 3 things I'm grateful for. This works because your brain already has a strong neural link to the existing habit, so the new habit gets pulled along with it, like a train car attached to a locomotive. To use the never miss twice rule, life will happen. You will get sick, have emergencies, travel, or face days when you just can't make it happen. That's okay. Missing once won't kill your habit. The danger is missing twice in a row. When you miss 2 days, your brain starts forming the identity that skipping is normal, and the habit quickly unravels. The rule is simple. You can miss once but never twice. If you skip Monday, make sure you get back on track Tuesday, even if it's just a tiny version of your habit. Make the habit so small you can't fail. When motivation is high, you'll want to go big. When motivation is low, you'll want to do nothing. The key is to have a minimum version of your habit that's so small it feels silly not to do it. Want to work out daily? Do 1 push-up. Create friction for bad habits. Remove friction for good ones. Habits are heavily influenced by how easy or hard they are to start. If you want to keep your daily habit, make it effortless to begin. For example, at the same time, make bad habits harder to do. Hacker. Put the TV remote in another room. Delete distracting apps from your phone. Keep junk food out of the house. Data. Identity first, actions second. One of the most powerful mindset shifts in habit formation is to focus on who you are instead of what you do. If you want to run daily, don't think, I'm trying to run every day. Instead, think, I am a runner. If you want to read daily, don't say, I'm trying to read more. Say, I'm a reader. Why? Because when something becomes part of your identity, it's no longer a debate, it's just who you are. Skipping the habit feels like breaking a promise to yourself. Make it obvious, attractive, and rewarding. This comes from James Clear's Atomic Habits, and it's incredibly effective. Make it obvious. Put visual cues in your environment that remind you of your habit. Make it attractive. Pair it with something you enjoy. Listen to music while you exercise. Make your reading corner cozy with good lighting. Make it rewarding. Track your progress. Give yourself small treats, or enjoy the natural high of accomplishment. The more enjoyable and rewarding the habit feels, the easier it is to stick with it. Track your streak. Humans are naturally motivated by progress we can see. That's why streak tracking is so powerful. You can use a physical calendar and mark off each day you complete the habit. Use a habit tracking app on your phone. Keep a journal where you log your progress. Over time, you'll find yourself wanting to keep the streak alive, and that extra push can keep you going when motivation dips. 8. Plan for the low motivation days in advance. Motivation is like the weather. Some days it's sunny, some days it's stormy. If your habit depends on motivation, it will collapse quickly. Instead, plan for the bad days. Have a bare minimum version of the habit ready. Decide in advance what time of day you'll do it. Create an if-then plan. If I'm traveling, then I will do my habit at night in the hotel room. When you have a plan for the worst-case scenario, you won't be thrown off when it happens. Build an environment that supports you. Your surroundings shape your behavior far more than willpower does. If you want to eat healthy, keep fruit and vegetables visible and snacks hidden. If you want to study daily, create a clean, dedicated space for learning. If you want to meditate, have a quiet corner ready. When your environment makes the good choice the easy choice, you don't have to fight yourself every day. The habit flows naturally. 10. Use social accountability. Tell someone you trust about your habit. Better yet, find a habit partner or join a community where others are working on the same thing. When other people know about your goal, it's harder to quietly give up, and when you share your progress, you'll feel more motivated to keep going. The final truth about sticking with a habit. The real magic of a daily habit isn't in the first week, or even the first month. It's in the quiet accumulation of hundreds of repetitions, each one a small vote for the person you want to become. There will be days you don't feel like it. There will be days you slip. But if you keep showing up, even at your worst, the habit will eventually become so much a part of you that quitting simply won't make sense. In the next part, we'll go beyond just building and keeping your habit. We'll look at how to take it from daily action to life-changing force, by applying compounding, deliberate improvement, and strategic reflection. Part 4. How to turn your daily habit into a life-changing force. A habit on its own is good. A habit over time, improved intentionally, is unstoppable. Think of a small snowball at the top of a hill. Roll it down and it gathers more snow, gets bigger, and moves faster. That's what happens when you combine a consistent habit with the compounding effect. This chapter is about turning your habit from something you do into something that changes everything. Understand the power of compounding. Compounding isn't just about money, it's about skills, relationships, and even health. Here's how it works. A single push-up won't make you fit, but 10 push-ups a day for 10 years will transform your body. Reading 1 page doesn't make you a genius, but 20 pages a day for 5 years is over 36,000 pages. The knowledge from hundreds of books. Investing $5 a day doesn't make you rich, but over decades it could mean financial freedom. The problem? Most people quit before compounding kicks in because the early rewards are invisible. For the first year, you may not see massive changes. That's because growth happens below the surface first, like roots forming before a tree sprouts. The secret is to stay in the game long enough for compounding to work its magic. Move from repetition to deliberate improvement. Repetition makes you consistent. Deliberate improvement makes you exceptional. If you do the same thing every day without tweaking it, you'll get stuck at good enough. To keep growing, you need to constantly refine your approach. For example, if your habit is writing, review your work weekly to see where you can improve style, clarity, or storytelling. If your habit is exercising, increase weights, try new exercises, and track performance metrics. If your habit is networking, learn better conversation skills, follow up effectively, and deepen connections. Every month, ask yourself, how can I do this habit 1% better? Those tiny upgrades multiplied over years will separate you from almost everyone else. Expand the habit's ripple effect. The best habits don't just improve one area of life, they spill into many others. Example, running daily improves health, boosts energy, increases productivity, helps career. Reading daily increases knowledge, sparks new ideas, improves communication, opens opportunities. The wider the ripple, the bigger the impact. 4. Link the habit to your long-term vision. Daily habits are like bricks. A single brick means nothing unless you know what you're building. If your habit feels disconnected from your bigger vision, motivation will fade. Here's how to link them. 8. To define your North Star. Where do you want to be in 5-10 years? Connect your habit to that goal. How does today's action lead there? Remind yourself daily, before starting the habit, say, "This is me building my future." Example: Beta Vision, financial independence. Habit: reading 30 minutes of investing books daily. Beta Vita. Link: each page builds my financial knowledge, which builds my future freedom. 5. Multiply the habit through leverage. At first, your habit will only benefit you, but eventually, you can amplify it so it benefits many people, and that's where exponential growth begins. Ways to leverage your habit. Teach what you've learned. Books, videos, courses. Automate parts of it so it runs while you sleep. Build systems that allow your habit to create results without extra effort. Example: if you write 200 words a day, you could turn those into blog posts, then a book, then a course. Now one habit is producing multiple streams of value. Review and reflect regularly. Without reflection, you can waste years doing something without getting better. Schedule regular reviews. Yearly, ask, "Is this habit still aligned with my ultimate vision?" Reflection prevents you from drifting and ensures you're always moving in the right direction. 7. Build habit chains. Once one habit is solid, you can chain another to it. This creates an upward spiral, where one habit supports another, multiplying your growth. Example: chain, activity. Morning, meditate, journal, read, exercise. Evening, plan tomorrow, clean workspace, gratitude list. Over time, you've built an entire lifestyle of positive habits, without feeling overwhelmed. Embrace the plateau of latent potential. Here's the part no one likes to hear. Even with perfect consistency, there will be long stretches where it feels like nothing is happening. This is called the plateau of latent potential, the quiet phase, before a breakthrough. Think of ice at 1 Berkeley, it's still water. At 0 Berkeley, it suddenly turns solid. All the energy before that moment wasn't wasted, it was building up to the change. Your habit works the same way. Keep going, even when you can't yet see the results. Protect the habit at all costs. Your habit is like a golden goose. Protect it from overcommitment. Don't add too much at once. Burnout. Give yourself breaks and enjoy the process. Distraction. Remove temptations that pull you away. If you lose the habit, you lose the engine that drives your long-term growth. 10. The habit to legacy transition. The final stage is when your habit stops being just about you and starts shaping the world around you. You'll know you've reached this point when people look up to you as an example. Your habit produces results that outlive the time you put in. You feel proud, not just for what you've achieved, but for who you've become. This is where your daily action becomes a legacy. The final word on transformation. A daily habit is not just a box you check. It's a seed. With enough time, care, and smart improvement, it can grow into a forest, feeding you, sheltering you, and inspiring others long after you've started. The magic is not in intensity, but in consistency, improvement, time. And if you stay committed to this process, there will come a day when people will look at your life and say, "How did you do it?" And you'll smile, knowing the answer was simple all along. One small action, every single day. Part 5. Building relentless consistency. Consistency is the great multiplier. It turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results, not because it works overnight, but because it compounds in ways most people underestimate. If talent is the spark, and strategy is the map, then consistency is the fuel. Without it, the engine stalls. The frustrating truth is that most people know what they should be doing. They know they should save money, exercise regularly, read more, build skills, network, or work on their craft. But they stop, restart, stop again, and then wonder why they never break through. The reason is simple. Their actions are sporadic, and sporadic effort produces sporadic results. The high achievers, however, approach life differently. They do not rely on bursts of energy or when I feel inspired. They have trained themselves to show up day after day, whether they feel like it or not. And in doing so, they unlock a quiet but unstoppable advantage. 1. Why motivation fails. Motivation is like a sugar rush. It gives you a quick burst of energy but inevitably fades. If your daily progress depends on being motivated, you're already in trouble, because no one wakes up every single day eager and excited. Even elite athletes, best-selling authors, or successful entrepreneurs admit that they don't always want to train, write, or work. But here's their secret. They've made their habits part of their identity, not part of their mood. Think of a dentist. They don't wake up and ask, "Do I feel like cleaning teeth today?" No, it's their job. They show up. You need to treat your daily habit the same way. It's not a choice. It's who you are and what you do. 2. The identity shift. Habits stick when they are tied to your sense of self. If you see yourself as someone who tries to exercise, you'll only do it when convenient. But if you see yourself as an athlete, you'll find a way to train no matter what. This is why streaks and rituals work so well. Once you've done something for 30, 60, or 100 days in a row, you start to feel like breaking the chain would be breaking your own identity. It's not about losing progress. It's about losing who you've become. For example, Agar, a writer who has written daily for 6 months, doesn't need to find motivation. Skipping a day would feel wrong. A runner who's logged every mile in an app for a year doesn't want to see a gap in their chart. When you reach this point, consistency stops feeling like a burden and starts feeling like part of your DNA. 3. The streak effect. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, calls it "never break the chain." It's not just psychology, it's human nature. We hate losing something we've built, even if that something is just a streak on a calendar. Your brain begins to see the streak as proof that this is who I am now. And once your self-image upgrades, your behavior follows automatically. The beauty of the streak effect is that it removes daily decision-making. Instead of asking, "Should I do my habit today?" you simply say, "I don't break the chain." 4. Planning for the dip. Every habit has a honeymoon phase. At the start it feels exciting. The gym is new, the book is fresh, the savings account balance is finally growing. But then comes the dip. The dip is when you've been saving money but the number still feels small. Most people quit here. They mistake slow progress for no progress. They forget that compound growth looks invisible in the beginning. The solution? Expect the dip. Treat it as a test you must pass before the big rewards arrive. Prepare for it with a minimum standards, a lighter version of your habit for bad days. Accountability partners, people who expect you to show up. Reminders of your why. Keep your original motivation visible. Notes, photos, quotes. 5. Lower the friction. Every extra step between you and your habit makes it easier to skip. If your running shoes are buried in the closet, or your book is in another room, the resistance builds. Make your habit as effortless as possible. Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Keep your reading material on your desk or nightstand. Open your work project before you go to bed, so it's ready in the morning. On the flip side, increase the friction for bad habits. If you want to spend less time on your phone, leave it in another room when working. If you want to eat healthier, don't keep junk food in the house. Friction shapes behavior more than willpower. 6. Small wins, massive returns. Consistency is not about doing huge things. It's about doing small things without fail. Think of it like drops of water filling a bucket. Each drop seems meaningless until one day, the bucket overflows. The same applies to skill building. 20 minutes of practice daily beats a once-a-month 5-hour session. Wealth building. Small daily savings outpace big, inconsistent deposit. Fitness. A short daily workout compounds faster than occasional beast mode gym sessions. Most people fail because they want instant transformation. Consistent people win because they focus on continuous accumulation. The marathon mindset. When you think in weeks, you chase quick wins. When you think in decades, you focus on systems. This is why the most consistent people are often the calmest. They know they're in it for the long haul. Instead of trying to win today, they aim to never stop playing the game. They understand that missing a single day is fine, but missing twice in a row is dangerous. That's how habits die. The point of no return. Here's the reward for building relentless consistency. There comes a point where your habit becomes self-sustaining. You no longer ask, "How do I stay motivated?" because it feels wrong not to do it. At this point, the habit has rewired your identity, your schedule, and your environment. And from here, results start accelerating. Not because you're working harder, but because your momentum is unstoppable. Part 6. Mastering the art of focused effort. In a world that is louder, faster, and more distracting than ever, focus has become a competitive superpower. The ability to give your full, undivided attention to one thing for an extended period is so rare that anyone who develops it immediately gains an edge over almost everyone else. Most people spread their attention thin, constantly switching between tasks, checking notifications, reacting to whatever pops up. They mistake being busy for being productive. But here's the hard truth. Progress doesn't come from motion. It comes from concentrated, intentional work on the right things. If consistency is the fuel, focus is the steering wheel. Without it, you might move every day, but you'll drift in circles. 1. The hidden cost of distraction. Every time you switch tasks, you pay a mental tax. Cognitive scientists call it context switching, and the cost is steep. It can take your brain up to 23 minutes to fully regain focus after an interruption. That means a single quick check of your phone can steal nearly half an hour of deep work potential. Multiply that by a dozen interruptions in a day, and you see why most people feel like they worked all day yet got nothing meaningful done. Worse, distractions don't just waste time, they break the quality of your thinking. Deep creative insights require long, uninterrupted stretches of concentration. If you're constantly glancing at notifications, you're sabotaging your own ability to do great work. 2. The myth of multitasking. People like to brag about being good at multitasking, but neuroscience is clear. There's no such thing as true multitasking for complex tasks. You're not doing two things at once. You're switching rapidly between them, doing both poorly. Think of your brain like a flashlight. You can point it at one spot and illuminate it brightly, or you can wave it around, dimming the light everywhere. Focused effort means holding the beam steady, right on the most important target. 3. The power of monotasking. The opposite of multitasking is monotasking, doing one thing with full, undivided attention until it's done, or until you've reached a natural stopping point. When you monotask, your brain enters flow state, that sweet spot where time seems to disappear. Ideas connect effortlessly, and the work feels almost automatic. This is where your best output lives. High performers guard their flow state like it's gold, because it is. Flow time is where disproportionate progress happens. An hour of true flow can produce more than a distracted day's worth of effort. Focus is easier when you design your surroundings for it. Your environment either fuels your attention or fractures it. Practical changes to boost focus. Remove temptation. Put your phone in another room during deep work sessions. Out of sight really does mean out of mind. Visual simplicity. A cluttered workspace creates mental noise. Keep your desk clear except for tools you need right now. Sound control. If silence distracts you, use background noise or instrumental music to create an auditory focus bubble. Lighting and posture. Your body signals your brain. Sit upright, keep your workspace well lit, and your mind will respond with alertness. 5. The deep work ritual. Legendary computer scientist Cal Newport popularized the concept of deep work, long, uninterrupted, cognitively demanding work that pushes your skills and creates value. Deep work isn't just about avoiding distractions, it's about building rituals that trigger your brain to enter focus mode quickly. Here's a simple but effective deep work ritual. Clear your space, remove unrelated items from your desk, set a clear goal, decide exactly what you'll accomplish in the next session, choose your time block. Start small if needed, 30 minutes, and work your way up to 90+ minutes. Shut down interruptions. Turn on Do Not Disturb, close unnecessary tabs, and silence notifications. Begin with intention. Take a breath. Remind yourself of your why, and start. When repeated daily, your brain begins to associate this ritual with deep focus, allowing you to enter the zone faster and stay there longer. 6. Time blocking and energy matching. Most people try to force themselves to work at times that don't match their natural energy rhythms. That's like swimming upstream. Instead, identify your peak energy hours, when you naturally feel sharpest, and protect those for your most important, high-focus work. This is where time blocking comes in. Schedule specific blocks for deep work. Schedule shallow work, emails, admin tasks for low-energy periods. Guard your deep work blocks like appointments with your future self. For example, if you're sharpest between 8–11 a.m., that's when you should write, solve complex problems, or plan strategically, not check emails. 7. The 90-30 rhythm. The brain isn't designed for endless focus. Research on ultradian rhythms shows that humans focus best in cycles of about 90 minutes, followed by a short break. The 90-30 rhythm works like this: 90 minutes of focused, distraction-free work, 20-30 minutes of rest, movement or light activity. This pattern keeps your mind fresh, prevents burnout, and makes it easier to maintain high performance all day. 8. Protecting mental bandwidth. Focus isn't just about saying yes to the right things, it's also about saying no to the wrong ones. Every commitment you make, every task you take on, consumes mental bandwidth. If you overload yourself, you won't have enough attention left for the things that truly matter. High achievers are ruthless about protecting their focus. They don't try to do everything, they choose the few things that matter most, then do them with intensity. 9. Why focus feels like a superpower. In a noisy, distracted world, focus is rare. That means if you can master it, you automatically place yourself in the top few % of performers in any field, not because you're smarter, but because you can actually finish what you start. Think about it. If two people have the same talent and the same amount of time, but one works with deep focus while the other is constantly distracted, the focused one will lap the other in results every time. Focus is a skill, and like any skill, it can be trained. The more you practice protecting your attention and working deeply, the easier it becomes to enter that state on command. Once you master focused effort, you stop spinning your wheels and start making measurable, meaningful progress every single day. Part 7. The compound power of small daily wins. One of the most underestimated forces in life is the compounding effect of small, consistent wins. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can achieve in a year. They get caught up chasing big, flashy breakthroughs, and in doing so they ignore the quiet, invisible power of steady progress. Success rarely arrives in one dramatic leap. It's built brick by brick, choice by choice, day after day. Think of it like planting seeds. One seed looks insignificant. A handful of seeds doesn't seem like much either, but plant them daily, tend to them, and in time you'll find yourself standing in a forest that no one, including you, thought possible. Why we underestimate small wins. Human psychology is biased toward instant gratification. Our brains are wired to seek quick rewards and avoid effort without payoff. If an effort doesn't pay off immediately, we tend to label it as ineffective or not worth it. That's why most New Year's resolutions fail. People go to the gym for 2 weeks, don't see dramatic changes and quit. They forget that the most important work often happens invisibly, beneath the surface, before results become visible. It's like boiling water. At 99 degrees, the water is hot, but it's still not boiling. You need that last 1 degree of heat for the transformation to happen. But if you quit heating before that point, you never see the boil. Small wins are like adding that 1 degree every day, and eventually they create a dramatic shift. 2. The 1% rule. If you improve just 1% each day, by the end of 1 year, you'll be 37 times better than when you started. 1% sounds almost trivial. Read 1 extra page, do 1 extra push-up, save 1 extra dollar. But here's the magic. 1% is small enough to be sustainable every day, and yet powerful enough to change your life when compounded over months and years. Learn a language. 1 new word a day, 365 words in a year, enough to hold a basic conversation. Write a book, 300 words a day, a 100,000-word manuscript by year's end. Get fit. Add 5 minutes of exercise a day, 30 extra hours of movement per year. Small doesn't stay small when it's consistent. Turning small wins into automatic wins. The beauty of small wins is that they're easier to automate into habits. Once something becomes a habit, it no longer depends on willpower. It runs on autopilot. To make a habit stick, start embarrassingly small. If your goal is to read daily, start with a single paragraph. If it's to meditate, start with 2 minutes. Anchor it to something you already do. Read after breakfast, stretch after brushing your teeth, write after your morning coffee. Celebrate the completion, not the size. Momentum matters more than magnitude in the beginning. Think of habits like train tracks. Once they're laid, your actions run along them automatically, and changing direction becomes much easier. 4. The momentum flywheel. Momentum works like a flywheel. At first it's hard to push. The wheel feels heavy and slow. Every push adds speed. Eventually it spins so fast that it's harder to stop than to keep going. The hardest part is the beginning, when progress feels slow and resistance feels high. That's where most people give up. But those who push through enter a self-sustaining cycle. Small daily wins create progress. Progress builds motivation. Motivation fuels more action. Soon you're not forcing yourself to act. You're pulled forward by the momentum you've built. 5. Protecting the chain. Jerry Seinfeld's productivity secret was simple: don't break the chain. Every day he wrote jokes, he'd mark an X on his calendar. Over time, the chain of X's became so long that he didn't want to break it. You can use the same trick for any habit. Even on bad days, do the smallest version of your habit to keep the chain alive. Write one sentence, walk for 2 minutes, read one page. It's not about doing something huge every day. It's about proving to yourself every day that you show up. 6. Why small wins build big confidence. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your self-trust, and self-trust is the foundation of real confidence. Confidence isn't built by telling yourself you're great. It's built by showing yourself through consistent action that you can rely on you. Small wins are daily evidence that you follow through, and over time that evidence compounds into unshakable belief in your ability to achieve bigger and bigger goals. 7. The hidden network effect of consistency. Small wins don't just add up in your own life, they ripple outward. When you show up consistently, people notice. Your work, your discipline, and your reliability become part of your reputation. Opportunities tend to find the person who shows up day after day, not the one who appears in bursts and then disappears. Many overnight successes are really the result of years of invisible, compounded effort that suddenly becomes visible to the world. 8. The psychology of patience. Small wins require patience because results often lag behind effort. Farmers understand this. They plant seeds knowing the harvest won't come for months. Most people, however, expect the harvest in days, and when they don't get it, they abandon the effort. This is why so few people stick with habits long enough to see the exponential payoff. Patience is a competitive advantage. The person who can delay gratification will outperform the person who quits early, every time. 9. When small wins become who you are. The real transformation happens when small daily wins stop being a task you check off and become part of your identity. You no longer try to exercise, you're the kind of person who moves daily. You don't try to read, you're a reader. You don't try to save money, you're someone who invests in your future. Identity makes habits permanent, and once small wins are tied to your identity, the compounding effect becomes unstoppable. Small wins may feel ordinary in the moment, but over time they produce extraordinary results. The person who moves forward, even by an inch, every single day will always surpass the one who sprints for a week and stops. In the game of life, slow and steady isn't just a comforting phrase, it's a proven formula for success. Part 8. Multiplying the power of small wins. We've already established that small wins have an outsized effect on our lives, but here's the real secret. The way you handle those wins determines whether they merely add up or whether they explode into exponential growth that can transform your life in ways you can't predict. Think of small wins as sparks. One spark might light a single candle, but if you know how to nurture and connect those sparks, you can start a chain reaction that lights up an entire city. 1. The power of stacking wins. One of the simplest ways to multiply your results is through habit stacking, deliberately linking one small win to another so they trigger each other automatically. Instead of treating each habit as an isolated effort, you chain them. Drink a glass of water, open your to-do list and pick your top 3 priorities. Pick your top 3 priorities. Start your most important task immediately. Before most people have even decided what to wear, you've stacked 3 victories that set your day on an entirely different trajectory. The reason stacking works is that our brains love momentum. One success sends a tiny dopamine hit that makes the next action feel easier, and if you capture that momentum, you can keep stacking wins until they snowball. 2. Doubling the return on every win. A win is valuable, but a win you capture is worth twice as much. Most people do something good, feel a small glow of pride, and then let it vanish into the air. Instead, learn to record and reflect. Record it. Use a simple notebook, a habit tracker, or even your phone's notes app to write down every win, no matter how small. A visible record creates undeniable proof that you're making progress, even on days when you feel stuck. Reflect on it. Take 1-2 minutes to think. Why did this win happen? What made it possible? How can I repeat it tomorrow? This reflection process rewires your brain to recognize patterns of success, so instead of relying on luck, you can deliberately recreate the conditions that make winning inevitable. 3. Turning wins into assets. Not all wins are equal. Some are one-time boosts, others are assets that keep producing value. Example: doing one push-up is a win, but building a push-up habit is an asset. Writing one blog post is a win, but building a personal library of evergreen content is an asset. Learning one programming shortcut is a win, but mastering automation tools is an asset. Assets compound. They save you time, energy, and money long after the initial effort is done. When choosing which wins to prioritize, ask yourself, will this give me a return beyond today? When you win, you can look back and identify, Rhonda, the environment that made it easier, the mindset you had before you started, the triggers that helped you take action. This turns each win into a feedback loop. Rhonda, analyze, adjust, repeat. Over time, the loop makes your wins bigger, faster and more consistent without extra willpower. 5. Building an ecosystem of wins. This is where it gets exciting. The most powerful wins don't live alone, they support each other. Take this example. You start meditating for 10 minutes each morning. Your stress decreases, so you sleep better. Better sleep improves your mood and decision-making. Better decision-making improves your diet and exercise choices. Better health increases your energy, making you more productive. That one win now fuels 5 others. This is the ecosystem effect, a network of small wins reinforcing each other like gears in a machine. 6. Leveraging the keystone win. A keystone win is a habit or action so powerful that it creates a ripple effect across your life. For many people, this might be morning exercise, improves mood, energy, discipline, and confidence. Daily planning helps you focus only on what truly matters. Consistent learning expands your skills and opportunities every single day. Identify your keystone win and guard it fiercely, because when it's in place, everything else improves almost automatically. 7. The social multiplier. Small wins become stronger when you share them, not because you're bragging, but because you're anchoring your identity. When you tell a friend, "I've meditated 10 minutes every day this week," you create external accountability. You also inspire others, which creates a social ripple effect. And here's the bonus. People who see you winning consistently will often offer you opportunities, support, or collaborations, things that wouldn't appear if you kept your wins hidden. 8. The compounding curve. The human brain tends to expect linear growth, a little better each day in a straight line, but small wins actually produce exponential growth, slow at first, then suddenly explosive. It's like filling a jar with water drops. For weeks it looks almost empty, until the last few drops suddenly make it overflow. People who quit early never see the overflow. Those who stick with it eventually reach the compounding curve, where every additional win is worth far more than the ones before it. 9. Avoiding the plateau trap. There's a hidden danger in winning consistently. Comfort. When wins become automatic, they can lose their growth power unless you keep increasing the challenge. For example, win Singfest. If you can already jog 2 kilometers easily, push to 3. If you're reading 10 pages a day without effort, move to 15 or choose more complex material. If your savings habit is easy, increase the amount slightly. The goal is to keep your wins in the sweet spot, challenging enough to grow, easy enough to maintain. When you zoom out over years, you'll see something remarkable. Your life is no longer the sum of random events. It's a deliberate creation, built win by win. The body you have, the money you earn, the skills you've mastered, the people you've attracted, all of it is the compounded result of daily micro-choices that felt almost invisible at the time. And that's the ultimate secret. You don't have to do massive heroic things to transform your life. You only have to multiply your small wins and let time do the heavy lifting.
Part 9. Removing the hidden friction that destroys consistency. If success were purely about willpower, everyone who wanted to change would already be living their dream life. The truth? Most people aren't failing because they lack discipline, they're failing because of friction. Friction is every invisible obstacle that makes a simple action harder than it needs to be. And here's the key. Even the tiniest bit of friction can kill a habit before it takes root. 1. Understanding friction. Imagine you want to start running every morning. If your running shoes are buried in the back of your closet, your sports clothes are dirty, and your playlist isn't ready, each small inconvenience stacks into one big reason not to run. On the other hand, if your shoes are by the door, your clothes are laid out and your playlist is queued, you've removed the decision fatigue. Now the path is smooth. That's friction in a nutshell. Added friction, harder to act. Removed friction, easier to act. 2. The 2 types of friction. There are 2 main kinds of friction, and both must be addressed. A. External friction, physical or environmental obstacles. A cluttered desk that makes it harder to start working. A slow, disorganized computer that frustrates you before you even begin. A fridge filled with junk food when you're trying to eat healthy. B. Internal friction, mental or emotional resistance. Negative self-talk. What's the point? I'm bad at this anyway. Overthinking, waiting for the perfect time to start. Fear of failure or judgment. External friction makes the action physically harder. Internal friction makes it emotionally heavier.
You need to lower both to make consistency natural. 3. The smooth path principle. Here's a rule that can change your life. If it's important, make it effortless to start. Want to read more? Put a book where your phone usually sits. Want to eat healthier? Prep your meals in advance so you can grab them without thought. Want to exercise? Keep a set of resistance bands near your work desk so you can get a quick workout in without going to the gym. The smoother the path to starting, the more likely you are to finish. 4. The 20-second rule. From Sean Akers' research in The Happiness Advantage, there's a simple hack. Add or remove 20 seconds of effort. If you want to start a habit, remove at least 20 seconds of prep time. If you want to break a habit, add at least 20 seconds of extra effort. Examples: want to stop mindless scrolling? Keep your phone in another room, that's 20 seconds to retrieve it. Want to start journaling? Keep your notebook open on your desk with a pen on top, ready in under 20 seconds. Those seconds sound small, but they're enough to tip the balance between doing and not doing. 5. Identifying your micro barriers. Most friction is so small you don't notice it until you zoom in. Here's an exercise. Pick one habit you want to be consistent with. Ask, what's the very first step before I can do this habit? Keep asking, and before that, until you find every single micro barrier. Example, you want to run in the morning. First step, put on running shoes. Before that, find socks. Before that, dig socks out of laundry. And there's the problem. A tiny step, laundry, creates just enough resistance to break the chain. The friction audit method. Do this once, and you'll immediately see why some goals fail. List your top 3 goals. Write down every obstacle, both external and internal, that slows you down. For each obstacle, write one way to remove it. Example, goal, write 500 words a day. Obstacle, I waste time looking for inspiration. Remove it. Keep a running list of writing prompts ready. 7. Internal friction fixes. While external friction is easier to spot, internal friction often does the most damage. Here's how to dismantle it. Ache. Reframe self-talk. Replace "I'm bad at this" with "I'm learning this." Shrink the start. Instead of writing 500 words, write 1 sentence. Instead of meditating 20 minutes, meditate 1 minute. Use identity anchoring. Say, I'm the kind of person who, instead of I'm trying to. The environment does the work approach. You can design your environment so well that motivation becomes irrelevant. Examples, keep a water bottle on your desk so drinking water is a reflex. Place your guitar on a stand in the middle of the room so you practice more. Have your gym clothes already in your car so the decision is already made. When the environment is set up for your success, habits feel inevitable rather than forced. Energy friction, the hidden killer. Even if you remove physical and mental obstacles, low energy can sabotage everything. You might want to work out, but if you've been running on 4 hours of sleep, your body will fight you. Lower energy means higher resistance. That's why improving sleep, nutrition and recovery is actually a friction removal strategy. It gives you the physical capacity to act on your good intentions. 10. The zero decision lifestyle. Every decision you make burns mental energy. If you have to decide whether to do a habit every time, you will eventually say no. Remove the decision. Consistency becomes automatic when it's no longer a choice but a default. 11. From struggle to flow. When you systematically remove friction, habits shift from feeling like uphill battles to feeling like flow. You stop forcing yourself to act and start feeling pulled toward action. The difference between people who try and people who succeed isn't always motivation. It's that successful people engineer their lives so the things they want to do are the easiest things to do. Remove the hidden friction, and consistency will stop being a fight. It will be the natural part. Part 10. The final shift. Becoming the person who never looks back. We've walked through the strategies, the mindset shifts, and the hidden principles that separate the people who soar ahead from those who stay stuck. But none of it matters. Not the tools, not the hacks, not even the knowledge, unless you cross this final line, becoming the person who doesn't stop when it's hard, but because it's hard. This is where the game changes. The 2 roads you can take.
Every morning, you stand at a fork in the road. One road is familiar, comfortable, predictable, easy. It asks nothing of you except that you stay the same. The other road is uncertain. It's steep, it's messy, and it demands you give more than you think you have. Here's the secret. Every single breakthrough you've ever dreamed of sits at the far end of the second road. Nobody stumbles into greatness by coasting. You climb there, step by step, breath by breath, while the rest of the world turns back. The quiet power of relentlessness. The people who rise to the top aren't necessarily the most talented or the smartest. They're the ones who keep going after most people stop. They work when they're tired. They show up when no one's watching. They put in the extra hour, make the extra call, take the extra step. Not because they feel like it, but because it's who they are. That relentlessness is invisible in the moment, but over time it compounds into results so massive, people call it luck. 3. Why the last 5% changes everything. In almost every pursuit, the first 95% is crowded. Lots of people start, lots of people push for a while, but the final 5%, that's where the crowd disappears. That's where the competition is almost non-existent, because pushing through exhaustion, doubt and fear feels unbearable for most. And that's exactly why the reward is so big. If you can train yourself to fight hardest when you feel weakest, you'll reach places most people will never see. 4. Identity over motivation. Motivation is like a match. It burns bright for a moment, and then fades. Identity is like the sun. It rises every day without fail. You can't rely on the rush of feeling ready. That's temporary. Instead, decide who you are. If you tell yourself, I'm someone who finishes what I start. I'm someone who shows up, no matter what. Then every action you take either proves that statement or betrays it, and you'll fight harder not to betray who you've decided to be. 5. The never again moment. Every transformation has a point where you slam your fist on the table and say, never again will I go back to who I was. Never again will I let comfort rob me of my future. Never again will I lower my standards because it's convenient. Never again will I pretend tomorrow is an option when today is all I have. This is the moment when your discipline stops being an effort and starts being a non-negotiable. 6. The ripple effect of your decision. When you change your daily habits, you don't just change your own life. You change the lives of the people around you, your family, your friends, your children, your team. Your example becomes the proof that it can be done. Your discipline becomes a spark that lights fires in others. One person's decision to rise can shift an entire environment. 7. The long game. Think about it. 6 months of consistent effort can put you ahead of 80% of people. 2 years can put you ahead of 95%. 5 years, you're in the top 1%. But here's the thing. Most people never make it past month 3. Not because it's impossible, but because they mistake slow for not working. The truth is, most success is just a delayed reaction. You do the work, you plant the seeds, you wait, and then seemingly all at once, everything blooms, becoming unstoppable. When you combine the discipline to act without permission from your feelings, the clarity to know why you're doing it, the patience to let the compounding work for you, the identity to keep you anchored when storms hit, you become unstoppable. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop making decisions based on comfort. You stop chasing instant wins, because you know the long game pays far more. The call you can't ignore. Right now, you have a choice. You can close this audiobook, nod in agreement, and go back to life as it was. Or you can make today the line in the sand. You can say, this is where I'm going, and nothing will stop me. Because once you decide, truly decide, your old self loses all power over you. Your future is listening. Years from now, the version of you who's living your dream life will look back on this exact moment, and they'll either thank you for starting, or they'll wish you had. Make the choice now that your future self will thank you for. Start the habit today. Keep it tomorrow. Protect it always. This isn't the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a life where you never fall back to average. Your